I had to separate this shit into two parts. I'm sorry. Because this shit right here, family, gold mine. Got it for free. Googled it. God damn it. Got it for free. I don't know why I keep on stopping on me. Whereas the rival, as rival stands all too noticeably in our way, reaction against the rival's potential or actual attempt to grab. What I want always precedes the reflection that could uncover the true source of my desire. We're not looking at the true generator of our desires. We think it's us, but it's not really us. That I only want it because she wants it. Put two kids together with a surplus of toys, and their desire will inevitably latch onto the same toy, beginning a tug of war and mutual cries that I wanted it or I had it first. Scandal. 4. Pursuit and defense of an acquisitive desire mimetically reinforces the desire of the rival model obstacle and vice versa, leading to an escalation of conflict unless something external to the conflict, like a taboo or legal authority. Where are the taboos and legal authority in our culture, family? This is why we can't stop gang shit. Because the gang shit, right, we haven't applied taboos, to our kids. Those sacred things that we don't violate. We don't have the internal law. See, with the external law pressing down on it is not the same as an internal drive, or because we know an external a stimulus forced down on you is not as powerful as an internal stimulus coming from within you, right? People telling you constantly that you need to work out, is not as effective as something inside of you saying it's time to work out. We gotta go. Once you get that internal thing going, it's powerful. So same thing with cultures. If you look at a culture as a being, external forces will not stop or change that being's behavior or parts of that being's behavior. It takes an internal thing to make that happen. All right? So we have to develop those taboos, those rules, that internal legal precedents, those internal rules, right? That internal code that people hold sacred, right? You don't need police for that. Intercedes unless the conflict intercedes or unless one of the rivals submits or dies. We can skip that one. Metaphysical desire. It's some good information if you can get it. Metaphysical desire. Number 5. Since mutual interest in an object or desire is generated by human interaction, objects of rivalry can be manufactured out of thin air by mimetic conflict. Examples might include prestige, fame, or success. T.S. Eliot calls such things shatterfruit. They may also be called vanities. So, We don't even need objects to start worrying about. We start worrying about shadow fruit, things that don't even exist, things that have been manufactured. If they have been manufactured, who's manufacturing it? Wanted some shit here, fam. Wanted some shit here. Damn. Not only is the food being fucked with, we showing what on the journey, we showing what your mind is being fucked with, right? What you know what I'm saying? It's like where we live is a fucking experiment. Let me read that. Since mutual interest in objects of desire is generated by human interaction, objects of rivalry can be manufactured out of thin air by mimetic conflict. Manufactured. Let's look at that. Now, let's see. What are the things that prestige? Fame? Success? If I have an enemy, you know what I'm gonna do? Right? And I'm winning and I'm oppressing, I'm going to raise certain elements in that group to such a level to where everybody else will desire to want to be like them. So now the focus goes toward them. And since I know about this process, the mimetic process, I know that eventually rivals are going to form. And I never have to worry about fighting them because they're going to be fighting each other. Do that shit sound familiar to you? Is it me or does that shit sound familiar? Family, we on to some shit here. I'm trying to tell you, listen. Look up this shit. Mimetic. Let me spell it for you. Mimetic. And we're gonna see where this word comes from. Hold on. I like to call these objects born of mimetic entanglement, metaphysical objects whose objectivity is located solely in resistance provided by rivals. Metaphysical desire, Jawar's term, is desire to possess the quality of being attributed to the possessor of the object in dispute. We attribute to the glamorous, e.g., the successful or the famous, a quality of being that we lack. The quality of being that we lack, unaware that they also feel inadequately lacking in comparison to their models and so on. So this shit keeps society trapped in a loop, except for the knowing. Are you striving to be an annoying, fam? Inherent scarcity. Number 6. The scandal of metaphysical object is the desire for such objects leads to an a priori frustration. In eliminating my obstacle, I also eliminate the originator and sustainer of my desire and therefore the substance of the object in question. So when I get rid of the person that I thought was my competition, I find that what I wanted is not what I wanted. Many of us have did that shit before. Whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship, you know what I'm saying? We done did that shit before. This leads to the paradox of success, aptly expressed in Groucho Marx's quip, I wouldn't belong to any club that would have me as a member. Once you get what you think you want, you find out that you never wanted it. You find out, see, this is when I'm giving you a head start. Some of you young people that might be listening 5 years from now, right? Giving you a head start. Be clear on what your desires are. Are your desires yours or are your desires someone else? Are you copying healthy behaviors? Are you copying behaviors that's going to move you forward? Or are you copying behaviors that's going to make you an enemy of somebody and it's going to eventually drag you down because you're striving to get something that you really don't want, that you're only imitating, and then when you get up and get the victory, it's hollow. Are you sacrificing everything to work to fulfill somebody else's dream that you don't even know is somebody else's dream? Are you chasing gold and diamonds and shit? Right? Which is really, I mean, come on, fam. The sacrificial crisis. You ready? It is clear that the mimetic rivalry is an incubator and an accelerator of human violence. Incubator and accelerator of human violence. Mimetic forces left unchecked by external society checks will result in a contagious spasm of violence. Isn't that what we got going on? In our community as well as from external forces in our community? Remember that the strong mimetic tendency in humanity is biological and preconscious rather than a product of human deliberation. Therefore, the origin of any general disorder caused by the propagation of mimetic rivalry will be generally mysterious, while its effects are obvious and dangerous. Look what's going on politically. If we really look at what's going on politically, in some form or fashion, the way they're going, somebody's going to have to be a scapegoat. All the shit that's going on in Washington, they're going to have to put on somebody. And once they sacrifice that motherfucker or that woman, that fatherfucker, peace is going to come to Washington. And they're going to be able to work together. Think we've been down that road before? Alright. I'm just telling y'all. Because, you know what I'm saying? You need to be able to expand your mind and look at this shit. Look at it at a society level. We see it happening in our community, but it's also happening to the larger community. There's no way that these people say they're going for different things, supposedly, but they both are reaching for the same thing: power, control. They're reaching for it. They both have mimetic desires, and they're striving to reach for them. So they are coming into conflict. You can see the violence in words, and they say we don't do violence in Washington, D.C. But this shit is going to spill out to where somebody somewhere is going to do something. And that something that they do is going to be so horrendous that that person is going to end up the person that did the action is going to end up being the scapegoat. Once that scapegoat is sacrificed, there will be a peace reigning. That's what this model is showing us. Same thing with countries. We can see it happening right now, right? America and Russia, right? Who gonna be the scapegoat? It's always the odd one out. All right, sacrificial crisis. Let's get back to it. Therefore, the origin of any general disorder caused by the propagation of mimetic rivalry will be generally mysterious, while its effects are obvious and dangerous. The society checks that we take for granted, police, forces, manners, etc., have a history, and every history must have a prehistory. Given the tendency of mimetic rivalry to generate, sustain, and even amplify violence, the questions arise as how human culture during this prehistory was able to survive the Hobbesian war of all against all that springs from a natural mimetic escalation in the first place. Here we go, the scapegoat. Get ready, family. Get ready. It's a little bit longer than 30 minutes, but listen. Just as the crisis began with the mimetic contagion, see, because now remember, this shit flows like a virus. It's a preconscious virus, right? That jumps from person to person because people are not recognizing that they are copying other people. They're trying to be like other people. As a matter of fact, we can see it in culture with like fashion. We see it with dances. We can see it with a lot of stuff that's going on in society, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, we see people copying people all the time. And then with social media, the way it is right now, this shit is, oh man. But just as the crisis begins with mimetic contagion, so too must it end mimetically. The new contagion is catalyzed not by acquisitive gestures, but as an accusatory one. Someone is blamed arbitrarily for the violence, the scapegoat. Questions of who or why matter less than the accusation is imitated. So it don't even matter whether you are the actual cause. It don't even matter. You are the release valve of the pressure. As an accusation is transmitted by mimetic contagion across the social field, there's a natural tendency for it to converge on a single victim. This can be demonstrated in computer models. We skip that. Okay, yeah, this is demonstrated in computer models with a collection of mimetic agents biased to imitate the most duplicated memes. Memes, mimetic, get it? Memes, mimetic. For those who know, memes are ideas that get caught. There are contagious ideas on the internet. Memes, mimetic, same root. The violence of all against all is replaced. The violence of all against all is replaced by the more economical violence of all against one. Whether that one is an individual, or that one is a group, or that one is a country, as long as the aggression can be focused elsewhere and the attention can be taken off from the center of the group and moved out. Black folks, we need a scapegoat. I hate to say it. Or in Virgil's formulation, unum pro multis, one on behalf of many, the social vector all become aligned, commonly focused on a single victim who is eliminated. Unanimous violence cures the crisis not because of the violence as such, but on account of the unanimity born of accusatory violence. Post hoc rationalization. Now check this out, because this shit about to get deep, family. The peace that results from scapegoating violence will occur at blinding speed, since unlike the antagonistic tugs of the mimetic object, the accusation encounters no resistance other than the increasingly outnumbered and feeble objection of the single victim. So, lynch mob mentality. I don't give a fuck what you say. It don't matter, motherfucker. And a lot of us have been caught up in that shit. Groupthink, unhealthy groupthink, forcing everybody into a certain direction. And that direction usually leads to a single victim being sacrificed to a God that you don't even understand. The social solidarity survives the death of the victim, an experience of mass antagonism giving way to so suddenly to an apparent peace has a powerful effect on everyone involved. The accusation has been pragmatically justified by its predicted effect. The pollution having been purged, the society is now restored to health. Post hoc ergo propter hoc. The arbitrary victim. Listen, because a lot of y'all are in this position, and a lot of us as a group, we got to understand this position. The arbitrary victim. The victim is chosen by arbitrary markers. It don't even matter. It's just arbitrary. It don't matter. Markers. The victim must have been peculiar in order to be singled out. Driving while black. And must lack defenders in order for the mob verdict to be unanimous. Right? Y'all got to realize that in many ways, some of us are setting ourselves up with some of these videos. We're setting ourselves up as a group. The scapegoat, being the first to stand out from the crowd, is the first individual, both psychologically and socially. The scapegoat is also the only one in the culture who grasps the lie at the heart of the founding accusation. The only one who knows truth of the culture, making him or her doubly threatening. They know the lie, and they also know the true truth behind the culture. Andrew McKinney has coined the term the epistemological privilege of the victim. To Name this phenomenon. Divinization of the victim. Check this out, fam. I'm telling you, it's about to get deep on us. According to Girard, the seeds of primitive religion are here, in the seemingly miraculous effects that attend the death of the victim of unanimous violence. Far from being the projected fantasies of savage minds, the piece of cheese is very real indeed, as was the danger of the unchecked mass violence that preceded. Because the danger was so precarious and because the deliverance so sudden, the corpse left behind becomes an object of fascination to those simultaneously threatened and saved by it. Family, have you heard stories about lynchings where they took pieces of our ears, or our genitals, pieces of our body, and kept them, and some families still have these motherfuckers hidden? Shit been going on. This accounts for two conditions of the Holy Rudolph Otto's famous formulation of sacred ambivalence: mysterium tremendum et fascinans. Since the mimetic forces are invisible, diffuse, and so far-reaching in generating social madness, and since the sudden curative effects of scapegoating murder provides a post hoc justification in the minds of the accusers, we justify the bullshit. The bullshit, the murder is justified. For the accusation, the murdered victim is credited with occult power. The post-mortem divination of the victim by the society is the natural culmination of the story. Family, I'm not going to point that out for those of you that didn't recognize what the fuck that is. Right? Right? Listen, did y'all just scapegoat become sacred? Become sacred? Become an object of worship? Put in the museums, personal, private museums, held in secret societies. Post-mortem divination of the victim by the society is the natural culmination of the story. This is also one of the major books that a lot of you follow, but you ain't gonna recognize it because you got your blinders on. Listen, the sacred order. Girard theorizes that the scapegoating effects are at the origin of all human cultural forms by marking the emergence of the category of the sacred. Unity that follows the collective murder obviously is of life or death importance to community founded by it. Maintenance of this unity and the prevention of the mimetic forces that continually threaten it to undermine it is culture. So culture is, according to what he's saying, damn, this done flipped my motherfucking view. What he's saying is that the rituals that cultures develop, listen, are you listening, family? The rituals that cultures develop are to stem the mimetic violence that will arise. So cultures are formulated on mimetic violence and the rituals or the system put in place to keep the mimetic violence from arising once again. God damn it. Girard also believed that the institution of sacred kingship arises out of the deferral of these rights. The king is a sacrifice. Oh, I skipped, my fault. At least it is archaic form. There are three signature components of sacred cultural order: ritual, prohibition, and myth. Alright, ritual. Let's go through it. Since scapegoating, murder, cured the original disease, ritual repetition of this generative event will be used either to reactively cure further outbreaks of mimetic violence or prophetically prevent them. This gives rise to sacrificial ritual. Gerard also believes that the institution of sacred kingship arises out of the deferral of these rights. The king is a sacrificial victim with suspended sentence, kept alive and treated as divine as long as order prevails. Y'all hear that? Prohibition. Since mimetic desire gives rise to violence, prohibitions, taboos, and enforced distinctions arise that act as a firewall against the spread of mimetic rivalry. For instance, the incest taboo prevents destructive rivalries over the closest available sexual partners from developing within families. These rules help protect us from, so subconsciously we set up basic rules that help keep us from falling into a cycle of violence, because deep down we recognize that we're copying. So, oh shit, this is deep. Alright, cool. Myth. Let's look at it. Myths are narratives that make sense of the founding event and the subsequent rituals that recreate the founding scene. Myth serves to overcome the arbitrary nature of the choice of the victim, replacing it with a veneer of necessity and justification, like they wanted to do it. Gerard believes that traces of the original violence can be discerned at the heart of mythic narratives. Gerard also believes that mythic stories, when viewed through the light of mimetic theory, reveals across cultures the ordinary act of scapegoating violence. Let's skip that. That's good now, but that's good, right? You can read it for yourself. Interindividuality. Gerard's anthropology implies that human subjectivity is essentially decentered. The mimetic theory, listen to this, the mimetic theory replaces the notion of the individual as the first principle of social analysis with the radical notion of interindividuality. We call this in Nyame interdependence, right? Which transcends the self-society dichotomy. Desires have their locus between mimetic partners. They are not placed precisely within one or the other. Man, I ain't gonna be able to finish this. Alright. So you go and finish the rest of this. But unmasking the powers. Now this is important for my fault. 19. Let's go here. So we got a code of effects, which create memes, principles, and powers that come from this. Since desire is mutable and contagious rather than fixed or self-determined, there can appear within human society agencies that transcend particular agents, often appearing as occult phenomena. Ergo, demonic possession, mesmerisms, or psychological maladies, hysteria. The contagious germ passed between mimetic subjects can also be called a meme. The contagious germ passed between mimetic subjects can also be called a meme. We learned about this with the. I learned about that with the gathering. Brother Gabron hipped us to memes, right? All right. Principalities and power. Since institutions and social forms are largely the outgrowth of an order that has its foundation in mimetic dynamics, they represent the objectification of the interindividual situation, expression of something like a mimetic field, with gradations of attraction and repulsion. These powers are not directed or controlled by any particular human agent, but are themselves quasi-agencies. Humans act out of their desires, but these desires are created, shaped, and molded by the powers that contain and confront them. Recognized human authority, such as a ruler, results from the power and not the power from the ruler. Let me say that again. Since institutions and social forms are largely the outgrowth of an order that has its foundation in mimetic dynamics. Alright, family, what are the mimetic dynamics out of which our authority in our community come? We got the secret. It's kind of hard to, I'm formulating, but my mind is on it, family. Now, listen. 19. The Satan. Oh, and remember, recognize human authority such as a ruler results from the power and not the power from the ruler. So, the institution that form around forming the rituals and maintaining the rituals are the ones that produce this mimetic field, right? That attracts and repels people that desire what it is they have, or at least think they desire, right? You're ready to Satan, the central power, that which founds the existing social arrangement, is that of accusation itself. Satan means the accuser, the prosecutor. The foundation of order has throughout most of history been through scapegoating violence and the mimetically attractive power of accusation. One could say of accusation what Heraclitus said of war, that it is the father and king of all, and has made some as gods and others as men, and has made some slaves and others free. Jesus called Satan the ruler of this world in John 12:31. Satan, although very much a reality, is not a person in the strict sense, but what Robert Hamilton Kelly called the generative mimetic scapegoating mechanism. The generative mimetic scapegoating mechanism. There's your Satan. There's your Satan. A feature of all human societies. Some just work better with them than others. The unmasking of powers. This is why I didn't stop. The success of the sacrificial system rests on a general belief in the validity of the original accusation and justifying myth. Since the guilt of the original victim is a lie at heart, any narrative that unmasks the lie will weaken or destroy the power and unmake the culture founded on it. Weapon, family. Weapon. Again, Girard distinguishes between one, a narrative that masks and propagates the founding lie, and one that unmasks and deconstructs it. The former he calls myth, the latter gospel. So the one that sustains the myth is the one that sustains the lie is the myth. The one that tells the truth is called gospel. Whereas the myths are written from the perspective of the persecutors, gospel accounts privilege the innocent victim, a witness. A gospel gets its light from the epistemological privilege of the victim described earlier. So, Brother Hatim is writing gospel. I'm creating myth and writing gospel, goddammit. Creating myth and writing gospel. Structural innocence. One of the species of innocence is structural innocence. The idea that even a forensically guilty person can be an innocent victim of scapegoating violence. Check this out. Especially if the purpose of the violence has more to do with maintaining social distinctions than with punishing the crime. Listen. In this sense, a black man lynched in the South for horse thievery should be viewed in the light of structural innocence, independent of whether he stole the horse. Likewise, the victim of judgment is structurally innocent if the point of the accusation is preserved an appearance of relative righteousness in the accusers at the expense of the accused. Weakening the sacrificial mechanism. The concern for the victim, quiet victim, that has arisen in human culture makes sacrificial solutions to social disorder less and less efficacious, since the vindication of the victim destroys the myth that justifies the violence. Each discovery that unveils a victimage mechanism utterly destroys this transformed the society founded on it. Each discovery that unveils a victimage mechanism utterly destroys or transforms the society founded on it. This whole society, this whole system is built upon victimization, sacrifice, scapegoating. Modernity exposes the victimization implicit in the hegemony of ecclesiastical power. Postmodernity discloses the sacrificial nature of modernity's foundational meta-narrative, etc. The apocalyptic situation. So, you know what apocalypse means, right? To reveal. So the apocalypse is when all the bullshit that is holding this stuff together starts to be exposed. The concern for the victim for scapegoating violence has the perverse effect of increasing the threat and magnitude of further outbreak of violence. The concern for victims of scapegoating violence has the perverse effect of increasing the threat and magnitude of further outbreaks of violence, since the sacrificial mechanism that would otherwise keep them contained can't survive being made transparent. The Greek word apocalypse means unveiling, gesturing both to the revealing and interminable violence that is produced by such revelations. Given our legitimate moral qualms over scapegoating mechanisms, and given the specter of apocalyptic violence made possible by the weakening of or loss of those mechanisms, it seems more necessary than ever for our survival as a species to discover a non-rivalrous, non-sacrificial way of living. We must love one another or die. That's going to be a hard one. These motherfuckers have been all over the world. Hey, listen, this shit is, you know what I'm saying? You know, because that, you know, but you know, that's what motherfucker, when they at the end of their rope start talking about, we need to all get along. You know, I know I own all the continents and stripping everything and shit, but we need peace in order for the peace to continue. But who the peace for, goddammit? Let's be clear. We got to be honest. Who the peace for? It ain't for my kids. The solution for the mimesis will be mimesis. Girard holds that human beings cannot escape their mimic nature, and their romantic attempts to outflank mimetic influences are ultimately scandalous. We just end up playing the same mimetic game at a higher level. The cure for mimetically produced violence will be a mimetically transmitted desire for peace. The model cure will have to be someone who has transcended the lure of scapegoating violence, but who? Once again now, that brings us, that beautiful theory brings us all the way around to this whole waiting for somebody to come shit. We are who we waiting for, right? So hey, let's get the wisdom. Some books they say you should read: Deceit, Desire, the novel. Rene Girard, the first book to lay bare the phenomenon using examples from great European literature. A Theater of Envy. Girard, a collection of essays on Shakespeare, whom Girard credits as the first author to really understand the dynamics of mimetic desire. The Scapegoat, by Rene Girard, explores the mimetic origins of scapegoating on its importance for the foundational culture. Girard Reader, by Rene Girard, edited by James Williams, gathers together a variety of articles, interviews, and excerpts by and with Girard. I'm going to check that out. Beneath the Veil of Strange Verses, Reading Scandalous Texts, by Jeremiah Alberg, explores the implication of the phenomenon of scandal through the lens of seminal Western thinkers and texts. Scandal is an underappreciated topic too important not to understand in all its guises. Albert's book helps to grasp both its importance and the guises. Link here. Versus Scandalous ebook. Ooh. Alright. So family, I say peace to you. I hope you get it. So this one, I guess it's gonna be 2 days. I'm gonna cut this up. So hey, thank you. Peace. Thank you for watching the video. I want you to subscribe. Click the bird right there, the fiery bird. And I also have a special video just for you, right there. And for those that want more information about Nyame Journey, go to our site. It should be right about there.